Hello again and welcome to another episode of the Franchise Everything podcast, where we talk about everything and anything franchising. And today I'm actually filming in Melbourne, and I'm joined by Paul O'Neill, who, Paul, describe, you're a multi-territory owner, you're with Plumbing Bros.
Yes.
Describe your role and position with Plumbing Bros.
So one of the directors, so there's a few directors at Plumbing Bros. My role is to uphold standards with the team. So making sure that we're delivering exceptional customer service and our 5-star promise through our team, through our leaders, and empowering them to make sure they deliver the best experience for our customers, whilst also protecting and nurturing a really positive culture.
Excellent. So you're essentially a franchise owner,
Yes.
we will say, so right, a territory owner. But the reason why I've spoken to a couple of Plumbing Bros franchise partners recently, but you're a very different approach to it. It's quite a different thing, and we'll unpack that a little bit in this.
Sure.
Before we do that, Plumbing Bros, for those that don't know, what does Plumbing Bros do?
Plumbing Bros, residential commercial maintenance
Yep.
across all facets of plumbing and gas. So
Okay.
from fitting to repairing to installations, as I say, for commercial and residential.
Excellent. And I know James and the lads there are originally out of Perth, but sort of really spread nationally.
Yeah,
haven't they?
they're doing great things. Yeah,
And you're part of that spread.
yeah. That sounds really bad when you say like that.
It is, isn't it? But it was a good segue, wasn't it?
It was. No, it's very good, and the guys are doing a sensational job. And I'm sure we'll talk about this shortly, but just the brand and the processes and the elements of the business they've put in place has really helped us, to steer growth across all facets of the business. It's been good. It's been great. Challenging, but good.
Yeah. Okay. So now, as we had a chat off air, now you're not from here, obviously. You've got an accent, so you're English.
Yes.
When did you come over to Australia?
2013.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, came over here on a whim, to be honest with you. Heard life was good.
Is it what you thought it was?
Yeah, it is. Went straight to Perth.
As a lot of English people seem to do.
Yeah, right.
English and South Africans.
Yeah, yes. Quite a few South Americans as well over there. And Irish everywhere, right?
Yeah.
But fantastic. And for me, it was the lifestyle. It was that kind of work to live mentality at the time, and this is subjective, but it's my story from relation to it was live to work. Back then, and there was just an opportunity for us to come out here, try it. I was in telco in the corporate game for quite a while. Loved it. Got to visit, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, a few of the other places. Some work, some personal. Okay. Just to kind of see what the other places were like. Whilst Melbourne, we're filming in Melbourne. This is a great place. For me, it felt a little bit too much like England. The whole four seasons in a day kind of thing, right?
Well, that's very true.
Yeah. So for me, I was like, we've got it good in Perth. We're doing all right.
So what were you doing back in the UK before you came out here, say in 2013?
Telco. Yeah, so I was in telco for nearly 20 years, all up. Kind of fell into it from working at McDonald's, getting my 5 stars and 5 badges or whatever it was back
Congratulations.
then. Thank you. Yes, we can talk about that for the rest of the podcast now.
Yeah, absolutely. I did the same thing, but mine was a bit earlier. Mine was a bit earlier than yours.
Yeah. Oh, black and white.
Not quite.
So from our perspective, I fell into sales, I should say. Loved it. Just the relationships, the engagement, the ability to offer a customer solution, as kind of cliche as that sounds. And I just happened to be in the telco game. Worked my way up the corporate ladder. When moving to Australia, it just made sense to try and find something in
that space.
Yeah, I've got the IP for it, right? So found my way to Optus and worked my way up the Optus corporate ladder. And then, went from telephone lines to a different type of line.
Absolutely.
Different industry completely.
Yes, a much different line with other things other than data running through it.
Exactly.
Actually, I didn't even mean that joke. That was pretty good, wasn't it? Very quickly. So, now see, you've put me off my point now. So, how did you get into Plumbing Bros? What you're sometime in telco here. You're senior position in Optus in Perth.
Yeah.
Where did the awareness and alignment come in with Plumbing Bros that you're doing now?
Through a friend.
Yep.
Talked about relationships.
Where so many opportunities come from.
Absolutely. And it's also being aware of the opportunities. But this is through a friend of mine who runs and owns a real estate business in the West. I was his account manager in telco. We gravitated towards each other. He saw my career kind of going from strength to strength. I saw this business just explode over
his real estate business.
Yeah, just over years and years, and you can see just the people they got in there, the processes, and we just gravitated towards each other, stayed in touch, catch ups, and we'd exchange ideas and IP. Obviously not confidential IP.
Yeah, but thoughts on things, and
100%. These are things that we're doing. Maybe give it a flavour, see if it works, and vice versa. And the friendship just grew from there. And to fast forward to 2020, it would have been 2023, and he approached me and said, "Look, would you like to run a plumbing business?" And I was like, "Mate, what do I know about plumbing?"
Yeah,
honestly,
I bet that would have been the first reaction.
And you know what his response was? What do I know about real estate?
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Now
Started somewhere.
Right. So, it was about getting the right people in the right places, if the processes are right. And, there's a lot of IP. It's amazing, right, how much IP you build in corporate that you don't realise how much you have until you leave and you use it elsewhere.
Yep.
It's fascinating because...
Look, the training you get, the institutional knowledge, the experience, the mentoring, I suppose, the coaching.
Yeah, and Horst Optus is, absolutely an amazing company to work for. Like they were so good, so supportive. Like any corporate, or most corporates, there was a lot of red tape. So what you found yourself is you kind of were bound by this red tape. If you had an idea, if you wanted to push or challenge a process. And there was a bit of internal politics, but I think you get that at any business, ours included. Yeah. And it wasn't until you leave and you realise, I've got this knowledge and it can actually be used here and here and here, and it's got a different flavour.
It's applicable broadly or universal.
And because we're small and agile, we were able to execute, which was so good. So there's lots of things that I've brought over from there that come into play. So anyway, that conversation with Ray carried on. He introduced me.
It's interesting. Before we move to that, it's interesting. I want to make the point of, so you were this gentleman's account manager for a long time and you became friends and everything like that. It just, when you said that, it just reminded me of a way of thinking to always be at your best, how important it is to always be at your best or present well and be authentic and genuine in your dealings, because you just never know where an opportunity might come up with the person you're standing in front of, whether you're selling phones or whatever it may be.
You're absolutely right. And, I think you use the word authentic. I think that's the big one, right? Salespeople, they have KPIs, targets, they're there to earn commission. I was no dissimilar to that. But for me, it was, if you do it with sincerity and authenticity, people buy people. Yeah. Right? So
they gravitate towards people that
I agree. I do. Sometimes salespeople are the best people to sell to, right?
Yep.
But and it just became that. And going back to what I mentioned earlier around opportunities, there's that opportunity. You've got to have your eyes and ears open for that moment. Otherwise, it can pass. Like, you can sometimes have the blinkers on.
That window's there for a short time.
And you've got to act. And normally, it's the ones that are the scariest. Biggest risks tend to be the biggest reward. From my experience, again, that's subjective. But you're right. If you're at your best at all times and representing. It's funny on that, and it was something that I did, and this was from a mentor of mine. His name's Walid. If he ever gets to watch this, he was unbelievable mentor, and he would always wear branding wherever he went traveling, like for business. So, for example, yesterday, I flew over from the West. I wore a Plumbing Bros branded shirt, on the way over. It starts a conversation. It starts, what do you do?
I get asked about
that
podcast all the time.
Isn't that amazing, right? And the most of the conversations for me were at the petrol station, believe it or not. You go in and see them, they steal the branded car and what have you. Now, look, I worked for Optus, right? That was a good and bad thing, depending on what time of the year it was, right?
Or what happened to someone's phone account or something.
Yeah, right. But it never... I never wavered from it. If people want to ask me questions, I tend at the time to have the knowledge. Again, something Optus were very good at, passing that knowledge down. We digress, but I was just thinking about being your best. But there's also a brand representation that you hold at all times.
That's all part of it.
I think so, yeah.
So 2023, so that conversation with Ray and everything, how did it flow?
He introduced me to Joe and James. Joe and James, the founders of Plumbing Bros. Gone in the boardroom, just had our initial conversation. I think we were both equally blown away by each other. And that's not just kind of us beating our chest. It was my perception of trades was very different to these guys sat in the room having a conversation around, as I say, AI, just processes they have in place. This franchise group that they've built, you walk into the office, there's this map of the franchise locations nationally. This isn't a small mob.
Some pride there. I mean, I haven't been there yet over to their office in WA, but I know in speaking to James over a number of years now, about 3 years, I think it's since I've known him, every conversation we have is about doing it different, being different to every other trade, being unexpected. Sure. To the way every other trade business would run, turning up on time, all that sort of stuff there that he goes through.
Yeah, I think, you have your own perception of trades or experience,
good or bad.
Yeah, right. And going in there, the way they were talking and just the growth plans they had, and I gravitate towards growth. Like I'm learning and growth are, two massive, kind of values for me that I lean into, and they really represented that in droves. So the first impressions were fantastic, and their feedback to Ray, obviously being the business cupid in this scenario, was similar feedback.
So now this is a very different approach to us, not just buying a normal franchise.
Yeah, correct.
I remember James talking to me about this concept that I, to be honest, didn't take too much notice of because I thought, oh, that sounds great.
Here I am.
Here you are. He was talking about approaching and talking with real estate agents who obviously manage rent rolls with property management, facilities maintenance, all that sort of stuff, and approaching them for them to buy a Plumbing Bros franchise because then they could feed it into their business.
Yeah.
So this is what we're talking about here, and it's come to fruition.
Yeah.
So did it take a little while for that penny to drop for everyone involved, like for yourself and Ray, your real estate partner?
Probably for me more than anyone else, to be honest with you. Whilst I'd experienced franchising in Optus from the other side of the fence, so we were supporting franchise partners. Yeah, for me, being on that side, I say fences, I sound like they're very separate, but I think for me, it was very much just the learning the franchise model in this arena.
Yep.
I think is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
I'm used to territories. I think most franchise groups, better than I, would work on a territory model and sell a certain area. This was via a client, so this was this is
the interesting thing. So the real estate agency, their current clients, that was who the Plumbing Bros was servicing, and not external. It wasn't a territory based thing. But then with the success of that, you went on and acquired territories. Tell me about that.
Yeah.
So you went on. Let's jump forward. You got on board. You're rolling.
Yeah, we could talk this forever.
And you're a GM basically of that operation.
Came in as a GM initially. Then the 3 territories. So Perth is north and south of the river.
Yep, I gather that.
Right?
Yeah.
So big country town, right? But we love it. So 3 territories north of the river. Were up for grabs from corporate. Shareholders got together, made a decision to acquire him and grow that region.
Yep.
And as part of that arrangement, I was able to become a director, shareholder, owner,
of that
all
whole
of the
group,
above. Yeah, all of the above. Sorry. And yeah, it was one of those moments where I was like, okay, now I'm in it. It was like that seat at the table moment,
I can imagine.
Yeah, right. And it was fantastic. So we went from there.
So the initial one with the real estate office was, when was that?
That was in May
24. And the 3 territories acquired?
The decision was made in November, but it actually transpired the February of last year.
So that's only like 7 or 8 months later. So pretty quick. Quick.
Very, very quick. And in between then, we took on another business in electrical, which is outside of franchising.
Yes.
And here we are in Melbourne.
So when did the Melbourne one come up? So you've acquired. So you've done the real estate one. You've acquired 3 territories, so 3 franchises effectively.
Yeah, correct.
And now you've got 2 in Melbourne.
Yes,
2 territories in
CBD
Melbourne.
and Bentley. Yeah.
When did they happen?
October last year.
Okay, so Jesus, rapid, moving fast. So how do you manage it? What's your role day to day in looking after the real estate one, the 3 in Perth and 2 in Melbourne?
It's a
you
great
must get a lot of frequent flyer points.
Yeah, we're getting there. Yeah, someone else joked about that today. Yeah. What is my role on a daily basis? If I was to summarise that, at the moment, it's operational capacity with the team. That sounds very broad, but it's making sure we're operating at efficiencies, from processes through to people, through to development. and it's recruitment. So building a leadership team, you know, around the businesses that can really support that and allow me.
You would have scaled a few numbers by now of people.
Yeah, we went from 3 May 2024.
Three staff members.
Three staff members over one entity. We're now across 3 entities, or if you want to include the territory, 6.
Yep.
If each entity is a territory, to 26 people. Yep. Which is where we sit now. So there's been a lot of recruitment, onboarding as part of that. And, you know, like any scale, it's not just about the people, it's the operations behind it, the structure behind it, something as simple as vehicles, right? There's these things and, you know, unattended consequences of scaling that you've got to think about. And then there's all the accounts and all that lovely stuff in the background that comes with it.
The boring stuff. The boring stuff that someone else is going to take care of.
You have no idea. James will laugh at this, the boring stuff. But important, by the way. Very, very important.
I totally agree.
So there's all of that goes with it, which is, you know, it's all part of the journey. And, you know, we talked about it off air a little bit, but for me, it's about now operational efficiency. So my role in the business now is making sure that we are following, but also challenging respectfully the processes that are in play.
So that's you giving feedback to the franchisor, improving the model, which is the way it should work
it's the team
theory.
First, right? So we get the feedback from the team who are in it every day and much closer to certain items than I am. And then, you know, have we got any validity? Have we got any numbers or outcomes from a behaviour change or a behaviour challenge that we can then pass to the franchise partners and say, look, we did this. This is a test case or a case study. If you want to share it with the rest of the group, it's all subjective to markets, right? Some market conditions might not support that, or certain people's or setups might not work.
So I'm interested in how you've gone with your mindset and your approach in not being a plumber, not being involved in plumbing, and now managing a team of 26 people, which is primarily fulfilling that service.
Yeah.
What challenges have you had with that, and have you overcome them? Because I'm sure there would have been some times where you've hit a wall with knowledge, maybe.
In one word, it's transparency.
Yep.
I knew I was coming in without the credibility of being a trades person.
Yeah.
And I quickly, every business we've been a part of, including the initial setup, I have interviewed and spoken to the people first before any decisions made. So we've actually had a conversation, unpacked them. I get a first impressions and they get one of me, and I get to understand their why.
Yep.
To fast forward, by understanding their why, we can then relate elements of the business to, you know, from our professional goals and alignment to their personal goals. Now, they're not always going to align, but we can align them as much as possible, you know, in relation to we understand what they're chasing. They buy into our vision. We can really support each other here. By doing that, it breaks down a lot of the walls to earn their trust. They get transparency, you know, as much as possible within the business. They really feel part of that journey. And I haven't pretended to be a tradesperson. I think that's a big one. Like I've committed to everyone I've spoken to, especially in the early stages, to learning as much as I can. Like I had no idea what a breach was, you know, a while ago. There's so many plumbing terminologies that I had no idea. So my ask of the tradespeople was, look, I'll commit to you that I'll support you every step of the way as long as you do the right thing by us and the business and our cause. My ask of you is I'm going to ask some dumb questions. Just help me out.
Just expect it.
Yeah, just help me out because I want to learn it.
I think this is important. This is really important because I know that the business positions itself as, you know, their tagline that from a franchise recruitment perspective was often, get into the plumbing industry without being a plumber.
Sure.
So I think that it's a very important thing to acknowledge how you deal with it and the barriers that would pose for some people considering doing what you did.
Yeah, just don't pretend. Don't try and be something that you're not. Tradesmen, they see through all the nonsense. They really do.
And imagine they call you on it. It's that sort of environment and culture.
And it's great. Like, you know, like, cool.
That's transparency, isn't it?
But it is. But it's a bit of banter as well. But by doing that, we've got some really good people in our business or businesses who have really bought into the journey now because of those conversations. And it's also something they're not used to. They're not used to having those conversations. As again, from experience, is some of the tradesmen we've had or where they've come from. It's day one, right? Here, you got your tools. Here's a van. Get on the tools. Day one, we walk them through some of the back end operations. They get to meet all the team. There's a real strategic onboarding process for day one, so they understand why we do what we do. And now that breaks down the barriers between operations and trades, which is great.
So you say that your areas for that your focus is for efficiencies.
Yes.
Everything at the moment you're primarily focusing on. Where do you see your efforts for growth concerned, your biggest opportunities for growth? Because I'm interested in the differences between the Melbourne market and the Perth market from your your knowledge of both of those and how they might differ.
Whoa, it's getting there. So it's early days for Melbourne still. Compliance is a big one. So gas safety checks, for example, is a thing in Victoria.
Yep.
It's not a thing.
You don't have that in
WA.
No?
Not as a legal requirement or legislation says you need to have your gas components checked every 2 years, as they do over here. Smoke alarms are different, so electrical compliance checks. That's the same. Decisions are made quicker in Victoria, is what we've found.
Through broadly, you think?
Our experience so far. Again, this is a very small sample, right? Because we're quite new, but I'd say the sales cycle in Victoria is much quicker to make a decision, build that relationship, and whereas in WA it takes a little bit longer. And understandable. I've been there for a while. I understand the market over there, and I get it. But the similarities, is relationships. It's building that trust with someone. Under overpromise, under-deliver. The way around, sorry.
Other way around.
Jesus
See,
Christ.
You even confused me there.
Edit that, John. John, that's an edit, mate. That's an edit, that's a cut. But yeah, so you do it that way. So then, but just come through. Just follow through. That is a similarity. But yeah, compliance is the big one I'm learning at the moment. And also people in market. So talent, I should say. So recruiting talent. That's a real interesting one. The talent in WA, it's quite difficult to find good talent at the moment.
Very competitive landscape, isn't it? For FIFO. For trades. Yeah,
we've got FIFO, right? So when you're up against FIFO consistently, that's quite difficult to combat. Albeit you get different levels where someone has, they've got building a family, they want to spend more time. So you can catch them on various elements of the cycle. Whereas over here, you don't get that so much. So what we are lucky with, you can call it luck or judgment, but we've got good talent on both sides of the country at the moment, and we're looking forward to building on that.
Do you see any, you're constantly hearing national news media about trades shortage.
Yes.
Do you see any flow-ons to that to you, or is it the way your model is with, you've got a licensed plumber sign off on multiple jobs, is that right, with multiple employees who are doing tasks that don't require always direct supervision? Isn't that how it works?
Yeah. So as long as you've got your contractor's license, right? So if you've got your contractor's license, then you have the ability to service all by yourself, and then you can recruit.
So that's the difference. That's the level of contractor's license and then licensed plumber. Is that way it is?
Okay. Other way. So contractors is your own business. So you can operate under your own ABN, ACN. So in relation to the challenge and what we're seeing out there, it's.
And this is you personally, because if you're, reason why I ask you this is because you've scaled up so quickly. With a team from 3 to 26, which is significant, significant growth. So I'm just wondering what your insights have been on that.
Well, to answer your question, yes, it will have a flow on. I think there's a generational impact that's happening or happened, and still kind of a bit of a hangover from that, where people have chosen not to get into the trade industry. The availability of other industries or other career pathways that just weren't here 10 years ago or 20 years ago are now available. But it goes back to, the part of the reason I chose this industry is because of the automation and the AI and those elements that are coming into it. I wouldn't say we're future proof. I would say that we have a timeline like a lot of other industries for major disruption. But I do think we'll be towards the end of that based on being a service industry.
There's even one of the key people involved in AI, when I was asked about advice for the future, become a plumber. Was the answer? I think a plumber or electrician, one of the two.
You see a lot of that. On different podcasts, all those street interviews where they're like, get into the service industry.
Absolutely.
So
natural advantage.
Yeah. So I think there was an element of that made me, get into this industry. But to bring it back to the talent pool, because of that, I think we'll start to see another generational shift where people will start to look at this as a genuine pathway for trades, and I think it'd be quite lucrative.
Yeah, I think so too.
For as a career, I think there'll be an element of this is actually quite sought after. So I think we're in the middle of the lull, which will carry on for a short period of time, or maybe mid-period of time. and then we'll start to see this as a real opportunity. We have a mission to start working with TAFEs a bit more to attract people into the industry. It's early days, but we'd love to get into schools.
Yeah, especially as you get more national scale and size.
I think so, right? Working with these guys to educate on the pathways in these careers and what's available to you and why you would go down that path. It's an interesting time at the moment. I'm really enjoying it because I'm enjoying the shift.
Yep.
And with any, technological disruptors or any of those things that come into play, it's how can we benefit from that? How can we utilize that to, give our people a great experience, give our customers a great experience, and evolve with it. Evolve or die, I think Gymshark use. Yeah.
So as we wrap up, next couple of years. Oh, it's pretty much the question I ask is normally the time frame I give a couple of years. What does that look like, do you think? Are you going to have like 10 territories in Melbourne and 4 in Tasmania? And what are you going to be? You're going to be on a permanent flight?
I think for us, God, I'll be flying platinum if that happens.
Yeah.
Firstly, this year optimizing what we have. Absolutely,
the foundation's right.
Yeah, look, we've kind of as each scale's happened, we've had a element of foundation and we've scaled a foundation. But this year is, because we've scaled so fast, it is optimization of all of those processes and get them to a really good spot, and then we'll go again. A couple of years after that, we'll look to expand our territories in Victoria for sure. That feels like a no-brainer and organic growth. Do we want to go into another territory? I'm not too sure as of yet. I think with scale comes an incredible amount of learnings. Right. We were in danger of scaling too fast. We managed to catch it before we did. But there was elements of quality, I would say, more internal processes that were at risk of dropping. So because of that, that's why this year is that. But to answer the question, we're going to optimize what we've got at the moment, and we'll probably expand in Melbourne. And beyond that, we might look at other territories and other states. I'm not that passionate about my frequent flyers to start building for the sake of building. But if there is an opportunity, right? So if an opportunity arises and our eyes and ears are
window opens, grab it.
Exactly right.
Live by your own rule.
Then we'll take it. Yeah, for sure.
Excellent, Paul. Thanks so much for joining us, and thanks for being so open and telling your story, mate. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Glenn.
Pleasure. And that's it for another one, the Franchise Everything podcast. Please share, like, subscribe, do all that sort of stuff, and we'll catch you in the next one soon.